Anything that you wish you didn't do?
Yes. I wish I had not waited 14 years. Somebody said if you want to lose something, lose money. You can get that back. 8 out of 10 millionaires have been financially bankrupt. Walt Disney filed bankruptcy 7 times and had 2 nervous breakdowns. But don't lose time. There were 14 years I sat on the sideline. 14 years I said, I don't have an investor in me like Tony Robbins. 14 years that said, I don't have an MBA or a PhD, and I can't compete with these guys. I have the complexion of rejection. 14 years I silenced myself. Wow. And so I regret that, because there are some people that maybe if they'd heard my voice, they would not have turned to drugs. If they'd heard my voice, their lives would have taken a different direction. And I can't get those 14 years back. That haunts me, and I think that drives me when I speak with such energy. I'm trying to make up for that time, but I can't.
I think most businesses fail. Most brands never make it. Most people never reach their greatness because they don't know how to tell their story.
Yes, that's major.
What will you be sharing with the audience? Because look, man,
let me just share with you why the story is important.
Success.
Yes. Why the story is important is because when you speak, if you're selling, you're an entrepreneur, you got a product, you have an expertise, knowledge is a new currency. People are asking 3 questions. Who are you? What do you have? And why should I care? And so if you don't answer that, because we know people do business with...
what, why?
Who are you? What do you have? And why should I care? People do business with people they know, like, and trust. And when you can answer that, now you're building a rapport and a connection that creates a possibility where you can do business together and help each other go to that next level.
We are completely committed to one dimension of our intelligence, which we call as the intellect, which is just the thought process. Thought can only happen with the data that you have gathered through 5 senses, which is very limited, one thing. Another thing is, the nature of data that the senses gather are only useful for survival process. The very nature of how you see things, how you hear, smell and taste and touch life is only relevant for survival process. If you wanting to know the life itself, then these instruments of perception are no good. Even what is light and darkness is a debate between you and another creature which sees darkness as light, isn't it? If you sit with an owl and start an argument as to which is light and which is darkness, it's an endless argument, but who do you think is right? Hello? If you're saying both, you're either in the diplomatic corps or you have a successful marriage. You have learned to say both, but which is the truth? What I see is the truth, or what the owl sees is the truth. That's not the point, it is just that nature has opened up our sense perception as it is necessary for our survival. Accordingly, it has opened up sense perceptions for different creatures as it is necessary for their survival. But if survival is all you're seeking, this is good enough, the 5 senses.
Look at these 2 men. Do you know who they are? Most people don't. They're just a couple of ordinary guys. One, they're both gone now, but one was an ordinary beekeeper in Auckland, New Zealand, and the other a Sherpa guide from over around Nepal. Now there's Mount Everest. Do you know for thousands of years people had tried to get to the top of Mount Everest? People died doing it. It was believed it couldn't be done. People tried, but they didn't know how, and so they quit. There's a closer look at the mountain and where they placed their flag. They planted that flag in the mountain. Now this is the 2 of them after they come down the mountain. And you know something? When they started, they did not know how. They didn't know how to get to the top of the mountain. And that's what stops most people, because they don't know how. As little kids, we'd go, Mommy, Daddy, I want this, and they say, now how are you gonna do that? Well, as a little kid, you don't know how to do it. But they did it. In 1953, on the 29th of May, they were the first 2 to get to the top of that mountain. They stood right on top of the world. Do you know there's been over 1,000 people do it since then? I watched a young woman on Canadian television being interviewed, not very big. She had just come back from going to the top of Mount Everest. And the reporter asked her, they said, How does it feel now that you conquered the mountain? We didn't conquer the mountain. That mountain can't be conquered. We conquered the limitations that are within ourselves.
But once you have come as a human being, somehow survival is not good enough. If your stomach is empty, there's only one issue about food. But once the stomach becomes full, you have 100 issues going on. So the nature of the human being is such, no matter what you do, you want to be something more than what you are right now. And if that something more happens, something more, it's an endless pursuit. So somewhere, a human being is seeking a limitless expansion, but trying to do it with physical means. The very nature of physicality is a defined boundary. If there is no defined boundary, there is no possibility of physical happening in the universe. But now, a human being is longing for the boundless, that too in installments and through physical means. Through the boundary, you're trying to become boundless. The desire is fantastic, the method is hopeless. Because the moment you identify yourself with something, your intellect's work is just to protect that identity. If you… whatever the identities of nation or family or gender or race, religion, whatever, the moment you identify yourself with something, your intellect will only function around that to protect that. So, it is a certain type of prejudice the moment you're identified. So, the only thing I did with my life is, I never identified myself with anything, and life just exploded within me in ways that thought seems so puny that I do not indulge in thought most of the time.
If you really analyze your beliefs, you'll change them. I had a friend one time, I was trying to figure out where do beliefs come from, how do you… because all religion and all science will tell you, you gotta believe it. William James from Harvard, 1900, he said, believe and your belief will create the fact. So belief is an interesting word, you gotta believe it. And I was having lunch with a mentor one time and he said, our belief system is based upon our evaluation of something. Frequently, if we reevaluate a situation, our belief about that situation will change. It was like bells were going off my head because I was trying to understand belief. How do you change your belief? Well, he told me, it's through reevaluation. And so I started to evaluate myself and reevaluate what I was doing. It took me 9.5 years, but I figured out why I changed. And it was the repetition of information.
Thank you.
You're in sports, you
Yep.
know, it's repetition.
Yep.
Repetition, repetition. Well, but practice doesn't make you perfect. Perfect practice makes you perfect. There's a big difference.
Whatever you want to do in your life, you got to kind of leave your comfort zone, the friends, the family, the cousins that you hang out with all the time, that know you for who you are. And you're saying, this is who I may be today, but man, I want this life. And for you to do this, you got to leave them behind. Do you know how many friends I had that when I was deciding to go and spread my wings, this was the one line. You ready? Here's a line. Hey, Pat, so have you made your millions yet? Pat thinks he's gonna be a millionaire, guys. Where's the millions, huh? I used to see you drive a Ford Expedition. Now you come with a Ford Focus. You are definitely becoming a millionaire. It looks like you're going backwards more than anything. I remember all these stories, every one of them. I went from a big Ford Expedition. I'd go to all the parties. Everybody would go in my car, and we'd go together. I lost everything, 49K in debt, and boom, I pull up in a Ford Focus that I can barely fit in. Everyone would say, this is the guy that's gonna be a millionaire. You're the guy that's gonna be somebody we should follow and do business with. Give me a flipping break. And I was hated by my friends for 5 years because I had to leave them behind. You want to come with me? Let's go. You don't want to come with me? No problem. I got to go do what I got to do. You ain't never going to pay my bills, and I'm not paying your bills. I got to go do my part, and I have to go out there and do it. It is not an easy thing to do. But if you're watching this, you're going through it. If you truly are serious with the effort backed up to it, go out there and get exactly what you want.
Great point.
And so I found that the part of our mind that controls our behavior is not the part of our mind that gathers information. School deals with the part of your mind that gathers information. And so we gather all kinds of information, and if we can remember it, they give us a test, we pass the test, we get the degree, and we're educated. That's not education at all. That is gathering information. Education, as Hill pointed out, comes from the Latin educo, meaning to reduce, to develop, or to draw from within. We have genius in us. We have absolute perfection in us. And what we have to do is learn how to tap into that, to let it out. But we have a part of our mind that controls our behavior, and that's where a paradigm is. And the paradigm literally controls our behavior. I don't care what you're doing. If you're not altering the paradigm, you're not going to improve your results. There's so much about ourselves we never learn. The part of our mind that controls us is our intellect, or our subconscious, where the paradigm is, but we're trained to live through our senses. We're trained to go by what we see, hear, smell, taste, touch. And we've got to understand that we've got this genius within us, and if we will consciously gain an awareness, an understanding of how to alter the paradigm that's controlling our behavior, when we learn that, we can start to improve life, just like that. And there's no end to what we're capable of doing. We're conditioned genetically. All mom's DNA and all dad's DNA becomes our DNA. There's two particles of energy come together, that's the moment of conception. 280 days later, we make our debut on the planet, then we're programmed by our environment. Because our subconscious mind, which is totally deductive, it has no ability to reject. The subconscious mind is immoral. It's like the earth. It doesn't care what you plant, but it'll return what you plant. Right. Earl Nightingale used a beautiful example in The Strangest Secret. He said, you can plant nightshade, a deadly poison, not a 16th of an inch away. You can plant corn, a sweet food. One will grow with just as great an abundance as the other. And that's the way your subjective mind works. You put the wrong idea in, it will grow. Put the right idea in, it will grow. We have the ability to change what's in there. We did not program it. It was programmed through genetic history. We're the confluence of a genetic pool that goes back for generations. That's at birth, and then environmentally. And we have the ability to alter all that.